Skyrim has the fourth most sexist quest in a video game ever. Seems to mostly appeal to heavily schizoid types. There is much fun to be had in terrible game reviews. Join me and make up your own mind. Of course we start with Reddit. This post has a section that says, "The writing is abysmal. There is no way I, uncapitalized personal pronoun, can put into words just how bad this writing is," right after the uncapitalized writing subheading. It would be so nice if they were specific, as I will demonstrate now. What's that? The blades are meant to serve and protect the Dragonborn, but they will not serve or protect you until you kill the only friendly dragon there is? What, was that meant to be a moral choice, Emil? One of these characters is actually likeable. Oh look, I just gave criticism of Skyrim's writing right then. Somebody get this man a grammar book. As for the rest of the points, this is where things get interesting. Skyrim is one of my most played games of all time. I really enjoy it for what it is. But it's not perfect. A lot of the criticism they raise are things I agree with. The main difference though between me and the poster is they appear to have no fun whatsoever playing this game at all. And that seems to be because they listened to only positive things and never actually looked at a review before they wrote their own and played it. And that is completely fine. You're more than entitled to like or dislike a piece of media. It's up to you. After all, you buy it. The thing is, they take issue with side quests, exploration, characters, AI, combat, writing, bosses, RPG elements, and NPCs. And who could forget glitches and loot progression? Pretty much all of those things could also be applied to Fallout 4 and Oblivion. Bethesda pretty much has a style nailed down. Why else would people refer to Fallout 3 as Oblivion with guns? So the question I ask is, why play this game by this RPG company who deliver games in terms of characters, story, exploration and combat in ways you pretty much cannot stand in an RPG? And now I know what you're going to say, but Radiance! Skyrim is the best-selling single-player RPG of all time! If OP knows that, then he might just buy the game to find out what the fuss is about. The problem with that argument is RPGs are traditionally very long games. And if the style of an RPG in terms of characters and combat are things that you do not like, then you are just going to be punishing yourself for hours on end when you could have avoided all this by reading a review in the first place. You tried something that goes against what you're used to, you didn't like it, and now you're out there going, why? Why do I feel this way? No. But hey, props for trying something new. It's not for everybody. Just do some research to make sure that you are compatible before you invest both time and money into this product. If you think I'm some sort of hater, then I've got news for you. I will defend Soul Hackers 2, and very few people will do that. You should try it. It's not like Skyrim, it's just a great JRPG. Do your research to know if you'd like Soul Hackers 2. And now it's time for the rapid fire round. It's essentially a single player MMO. Yes, it lacks depth. The combat is garbage, etc. It's a pretty lonely game. Seems to mostly appeal to heavily schizoid types. How lovely that we got a qualified psychologist ready to diagnose people for free on the internet. What a legend. He retired at age 35 because he made so much money in his career. Now he's just giving back to the community. Oh. Skyrim has the fourth most sexist quest in a video game ever, according to this published article by Cracked. That conveniently leaves out that the character Helga in question was actually getting with somebody who was already married and she knew this. And back to forum posts. This one is more of an ignorance type criticism from somebody who is familiar with Bethesda's work. So we have a post from somebody who's clearly played Oblivion before, and they're making criticism about Skyrim. Some of their points are quite fair, but they then devote a paragraph about the game's lack of vibrancy, and it strikes me as they are surprised by this. Whilst the game is less colourful than Oblivion, this shouldn't come as a surprise. The most northern city in Oblivion is Bruma. It's got a high concentration of Nords, it's up the Geralt Mountains, and it's covered in snow. If anything, if you played a lot of Oblivion and never played Skyrim, you'd expect Skyrim's world to be more like Bruma than what it actually is in the game. In Oblivion, around Bruma, the environment forms an icy rocky mountain biome. Is Skyrim's map all like this? No. The author will know that Skyrim is north of Bruma. Not all the map would be the same elevation as Bruma. Even though this is a fantasy environment, it still sticks to the real-life facts that high-latitude places tend to be a lot colder. Intrinsically, we will know that Skyrim is colder than Cyrodiil by default. If somewhere is going to be colder, then it's going to be less vibrant by default. We are dealing with a harsh environment to live in. Final Fantasy II came out in 1988. The most northerly part of the map is icy. It's not tremendously vibrant. The book, A Game of Thrones, from 1996, the northern part of Westeros, the massive continent, which is a massive focus of the books and the show, is icy, not terribly vibrant at the top. If you are here to say, but Radiance, Skyrim could have been more colourful, 1994, the Elder Scrolls Arena made it very clear that Skyrim is not a colourful place. And if it does appear vibrant to you, then that's probably due to how the terrain was generated. Either way, Daggerfall proves that it's going to be an unvibrant place. Whether you think the setting is too washed out in colour palette for your taste, it's down to your own preferences. But being surprised is just foolishness. In addition, this post was made in 2021. At this point, the special edition of Skyrim has been available for 5 years. This applies a filter effect, making the game less grey and bleak. Statistically, if you played Skyrim for the first time in 2021, you would be playing the special edition and not the original 2011 release. Saying that Skyrim as an explorable area is jarring after Oblivion's depiction of Cyrodiil as meadows and woodlands is ridiculous. If anything, if we take Morrowind, Oblivion and Skyrim in a row, Oblivion's setting is the one that is jarringly different. It's the most generic of the three by far. If I got a train from Birmingham to Manchester, I have seen Cyrodiil. Morrowind as this hostile volcanic alien world with giant mushrooms and bizarre creatures is unique. It doesn't even resemble Australia that much, and that would be the place you'd expect to be like that. In terms of bizarre creatures and surviving, Skyrim as a Nordic-inspired, unforgiving, treacherous land of inclines is less so. But more than Oblivion, I do like Cyrodiil, but you can't say Skyrim is the one with the setting that was too different, jarringly so, when Oblivion clearly was instead. This time we've got the word objectively. Ooh. The intro is too long, typical of a Bethesda game. Well, Morrowind was really quick. Oblivion and Fallout 3's weren't, so this is the third game in the row where the intro is a bit longer. Oblivion's with the sewers and the Emperor is still a bit of a drag, but once you actually leave the Imperial City sewer, you could fast travel to any city in the game immediately. Skyrim's intro I think is quicker to get through, and the caves are easier to navigate and brighter than the sewers in Oblivion anyway. This person is complaining of something that they expected, which isn't actually much of a big deal. Some of the things in this post do make sense. Then we get to this bit. It's not an RPG. You play as the Dragonborn. You could attempt to be an evil sorcerer, wiping out villagers, but in the end, you're still some Dragonborn hero. The world isn't going to respond to your actions aside from bounties. Every Elder Scrolls game after Daggerfall has reduced some RPG elements from the previous game. To give you some examples, Morrowind, that took away speaking different languages, it took away skills like climbing, and the map, even though it's detailed and hostile and beautiful, is still much smaller than Daggerfall's procedurally generated massive place. Then we get to Oblivion. Oblivion severely reduces the effectiveness of enchanting by default, and it removes some fun spells, like levitation and teleportation. Skyrim took away the ability to make your own spells at all. Want more examples? Morrowind had spears and throwing weapons. Oblivion removed those. Skyrim removed the ability to have separate greaves and a cuirass, as in top and a bottom, in terms of clothing, unifying them into one. Dialogue options between each games has generally reduced as well. What I'm getting at is this person is saying that Skyrim is hardly an RPG, but they're not being specific. I have just been specific as to how each game has stripped down your options, so Fuss has removed RPG elements in the sake of streamlining them and making them more accessible. He talks about how Bethesda games have a slow start, but not how each game has actually chopped off RPG elements from the previous one. Each game, roughly more than the last, has chopped off more and more RPG elements. With that way of thinking in mind, Skyrim didn't do anything different in terms of cutting down RPG elements, it just sped it up and made the jump from Oblivion to Skyrim more dire if you stop and think about what has been left behind. If you would have told us that, then your review would have made more sense. Next bit, you play as Dragonborn. Okay, lovely. I don't know if that statement's trying to refer to the fact that they would prefer more ambiguity with the identity of each protagonist, like Morrowind, how your character is set out to be the Nerevarine, but you could interpret it as you just got lucky and you fit the prophecy, but you are not actually special. If that's what you meant, then you should have said. The next bit is very, very interesting. I agree that modern Bethesda games tend to suffer in terms of consequences and choices that you can make. But I think it's telling that Avowed, a new RPG, doesn't allow you to attack civilians in towns at all, unless it's changed since last time I heard about that. If so, then that just speaks more of a problem with the genre, rather than Skyrim itself. That no matter how you act and how bad you are still a character at the end of the day who has some sort of destiny or main quest to fulfill yourself with.
Look at that subtle off-white coloring. The tasteful thickness of it. Oh my god. It even has a watermark.
Something wrong? Patrick? You're sweating.
This isn't Skyrim's fault. Let's look at Oblivion. Whether you do the main quest or not, there is no escaping the fact that you are the person Patrick Stewart saw in his dreams. Even if you never go to Kvatch, you cannot change that fact, unless you mod to start somewhere else. The whole attack a village, get a bounty, no consequence is a Bethesda type of style. I'm not saying this is neither good or bad, I'm saying it's to be expected, and he already knows what to expect. If you've never played Dragon Age Origins, then there is a quest that you can do relatively early on where people want you to help their settlement. If you say no or just leave, you can come back later and see that everybody's been wiped out completely. Perhaps OP prefers this sort of RPG compared to a Bethesda one. If so, then sadly expecting Bethesda to have completely changed their philosophy and outlook by Skyrim is a bit unreasonable. Disappointing perhaps that it didn't, but still, I really like Skyrim. But it sounded like the poster expected Skyrim to be wildly different than Bethesda's previous offerings when we'd all know that wouldn't be the case. If so, then don't criticise Skyrim for it, criticise Bethesda. Criticise the bigger picture, Fallout 2. Just singling out each game individually in isolation just makes it seem like a reductionist point of view. If you're going to criticise Skyrim, also criticise Bethesda, because their latest offering, Starfield, right after Fallout 76, proves that they didn't learn their lesson. Right, back to OP. Be specific as to what you would want it to be instead of bounties or something like that. The karma system from all the Fallout games perhaps, I was never really a fan of it. I much preferred New Vegas' style of reputation, either per faction or per area. Skyrim's bounty system is per area, meaning they didn't want to adopt this measure from New Vegas. Meaning Bethesda deliberately didn't adopt a measure made by a company that had more of the spirit of what an RPG should be than them perhaps. And even then the reputation system isn't perfect. If you get vilified, you'll get a hit squad constantly sent out to you, which if you can take them on just gives you things to sell. Perhaps OP wanted something more like you would be locked out from many quests if you go on a rampage. Things like that. Unfortunately, expecting Skyrim, which couldn't run on a PlayStation 3 well, to fix one of the biggest issues with RPGs as a genre is sadly naive. Throwing the word objectively in your review without providing much objective evidence contradicts what you've just said. Well, that was 6 interesting reviews about Skyrim, takes, and everything of the sort. Wow. Well, let me know what you think. I'm sure if I look deeper, there'll be even scarier things people have said. Thank you very much for watching. Good day, and goodbye.